is and the politician is still here with us. Today we are talking about the debt burden, and hopefully by the end of this, like Becky is saying, as you share all those numbers and the red flags, Jimmy, kindly also share an assortment of antidepressants.
They want Jimmy to be a quack.
Please also just prescribe the antidepressants.
Yes, let's go through the pain first.
We'll go through the pain first.
Yeah.
We've dealt with the flags, Jimmy.
Yes.
Finance bill. The whole import of the finance bill is that our taxes are going up in the next financial year. No matter how much maybe MPs try to tinkle with here and there, the general idea is taxes are going up. The general idea as well is that the revenue target that had been set for the current financial year is most likely not going to be met. But our debt obligation is most likely not going away. It'll still be there. We ought to pay 1.2 trillion shillings by the end of this financial year. And we'll look at how much we are able to raise. Next year, it's going to be more. There's a bigger obligation for the next financial year. Red flags have gone all the way up to Moody. Moody's have downgraded us from what position, CT?
B1.
From B1 to B.
We were at B2. Then we're now at B3. But we were at B1 not too long ago. The surprising thing is the speed with which we have moved.
We are moving.
Yes, it's like Formula One racing. One moment you see this thing, that the next moment it has gone. Whoop.
I wonder if when you're going back up on this rating, you go as quickly as you go down.
No, you don't. Unfortunately not.
No, going up.
Unless, as you said, you discover something great. Yeah.
So they've opened DRS now. We're on the straight.
Correct.
But the thing that comes to mind, though, there's two things. One, there has always been this discussion about a certain amount of money that we seem to misappropriate every single day. Now, you as a listener may not misappropriate it, but there are people who do it on your behalf. Okay? And the amount mentioned ranges from 2 billion to 2.7 billion every single day. Now, Jimmy, there is this little matter. I want to ask two questions. One, if indeed there was a possibility, now this possibility is within the realms of miracles, that this particular amount or the outflow of it could be stemmed, and that we actually had it within our coffers, would we be able to manage this debt in whatever way better?
Yes and no. As I said, I think we reached a point of no return some time ago. So that management needs to come with other things. It is what you hear people talk about austerity, similar to what we were discussing the last time I was here. What fat do you cut?
Because there's fat.
There's fat. So you look at the indicators of government with this expenditure and ask yourself, are they cutting the fat? I think you've seen it. I don't see austerity on.
They seem to be increasing the fat instead of cutting it.
Correct. So I think to sum up your question.
That's question one. There's a second one.
Yeah. To sum up your question, yes, if we manage them well, and management is two-pronged. One, you cut the fat. The other is that you deal with corruption, massive delinquency.
Okay. There's this discussion about the odious debt. If we declared this and whatever instruments of justice that are available allowed us to declare it, and it was etched in whatever legalistic journals that we required, etched so that it became something that was known even internationally, that a certain amount of money was declared odious, then arguably what remains would be what legally we are obligated to pay for. Now, would we be able then to manage our debt?
Now, I'm going to come to that because you're now talking about solutions.
Okay.
You're still on solutions. I'm coming to that.
We haven't exhausted
we are still on pain.
We need to understand the pain and look at it as it traverses the very sinews of our body.
Sure. So another pain point here, because some of the things that we've alluded to, maybe not come out clearly to say, we've established time and time again that borrowing is for the purposes of development.
That is the law.
according to the law.
Yes.
That's what it's supposed to be for.
Yes.
Plus cash flow management. Yeah?
Cash flow short term.
Okay,
within a year.
short term, within a year. Right. But from all that we've seen, even from conversations that we had yesterday and from what we've seen here, it would appear as though there is money that has been borrowed but has not been spent on this development.
Yes.
So the pain point here is asking the question, because then it must be established, what was this money used for?
Yes.
Because we cannot see a direct correlation between Project X and this money then that is attached to it. We just know that there was money that was borrowed. Can't see where it went.
Yes.
Where did it go? What was it used for?
Again, we're coming to solutions. Because we've established the pain point. We know that it did not go to development.
Okay.
Because we
Right?
can't
So
see
it
the-
is
we can't
contrary
see
to the law.
Because we cannot see the development.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, whether we investigate it, find it, whether I have the details, that's a secondary question.
Do you, Jimmy?
Yes.
You have the
In large
details as
part.
per where
In
this
large
money
part,
went?
yes. In
Let's
large
do
part, yes.
the remaining two red flags.
Yes.
Our stock market, our bills and bonds.
Yes. Now, our stock market. It's unfortunate I have to talk about Safaricom. I think it's public knowledge that is not only one of our blue chip companies.
It's the
It's
largest
also
in the market.
The largest in the market. And if you want to get an indicator of the value of our stock, that is a stock you look and follow. That stock has come down in the last 2 or 3 months at a rate that's never been seen before. It was at almost 30. It is now at 12.85 as of yesterday. And it is being dumped in massive quantities. On Friday, I know they had to stop the bidding because it had dropped the most that it is legally allowed by NSC to drop in one day. Now, if you look at the portfolio of the people who are dumping it, it's foreigners. Why? Why? What is it they are seeing that we all can't see? Because we are still using our lines. We are still using M-Pesa. If you look at the volume of business of Safaricom, locally, it's not depreciating. So what is it that is happening that is making foreigners jump at this?
So it isn't Safaricom that they have a problem with?
It's the country.
Yes.
And you'll find, as I've talked to 1 or 2 brokers, who are big brokers for foreign investors, the first thing some of their buyers are asking, the sellers are asking, is how long will it take me for my foreign exchange remittance?
That's the question.
That's the question. And they're being told, well, normally it's 48 hours, now maybe 4 weeks, depending on the sum. So what is that an indication of?
No, that answer doesn't help our situation very much, does it?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. It doesn't.
Would it take 4 weeks?
Yes, it's taking 4 weeks. I think you can talk to some of the brokers. They will tell you. On the quantums, especially, I know of Safaricom, they are very clear that your remittance, when you sell today, will get to you in 4 weeks. I know there was even a conference with the FTSE 100, the Treasury, the Central Bank, the Capital Market Authority, and I think a week ago, last week, trying to address this one issue. It's taking too long for remittance of their forex to get to them. Because, you know, if you're buying and selling, you want quick, because you must be buying and selling somewhere else.
Yep.
So it's taking a long time. That is a clear indicator. It's a big red light. Big red light. So they are seeing something. They are seeing something we are refusing to accept. I say we are refusing to accept because, you know, we are on the side of hopeful. We are a Christian country. We are a hopeful nation. We like to believe that our life is not just about doom.
Yeah.
And we believe that there is something better tomorrow. But we must also be realists. because we can't just wake up and things are better. We must work to make them better by accepting the position we are in today. Now, the last one is bonds and bills. Now, City, you have that good map. If you go to domestic borrowing, on the revenues and exchequer, I think you can see the revised estimates. What is the figure?
886,521,000,000.
And so far, how much has been achieved?
406,618,000,000.
Half.
Less than half.
Do you look, you're shaking your head.
It's less than half.
You're shaking your
Remember,
head.
So the CBK has gone to the market asking for how much?
886. Central, but not CBK. This is Treasury.
The Treasury has gone to the market asking for this amount.
886. Say 890.
Okay.
890.
Which tells you how much a month? Let's go back to our calculation.
By 12.
You're very good at it.
Divided by 12 is 74.
Billion.
74.
Yes.
74 billion per month.
Per month.
Yep.
And so far they've done 406.
Yes.
Let's say 400 in 10 months. So what is that?
About 40 per month.
So what?
Deficit of about 31.
31.
Sorry, 34.
Yes, and that is going to be accentuated by the falling value of the shilling. So it may be 34 today, tomorrow it will not be 34.
Now,
At the end of the
I
week,
think
it
you
will
need
most
to
definitely
understand
not be 34.
why
Are they
so-
seeking in shillings or in dollars?
shillings. This is shillings.
This is
sorry.
shillings.
This is shillings. So you ask yourself, why are the investors of bonds and bills, banks, you and I, why are we not bidding?
Why are they shying away
Why
from
are they
what
shying
is
away?
traditionally
A secure.
the most secure?
Correct.
Yeah.
What has happened?
But when you say
There's a
people are
shortfall of almost half. Correct.
Yes.
Yep.
It's a big shortfall.
among the people who are often the takers are just our local banks.
Yeah, but the banks is our money.
Precisely.
Right.
So have they also declined to take?
It's
They're
clear.
the ones.
It's clear.
They're the
And
ones.
they have declined, right? Maybe they would tell you the interest rate. But what is the interest rate an indication of?
Confidence.
Risk.
Yes.
Risk.
Risk. So the government is coming out saying maybe we can't give you more than 10%. So they're saying we're not interested. So what is it they are seeing that we are refusing to
Because
see?
they are in country.
They're in country.
And if that is the statement they are making, they are providing fodder for anyone who is external to look and say, if the locals who are usually very eager to take this paper are this reluctant, what do they know that we don't know?
What do
We don't
they know?
Do we really want to dip our toes in this particular water?
Jimmy, now for the record, we're going to go through each of those 6. Say what you're saying about it. Let's start. Finance bill.
High taxes.
Taxes are going up.
High taxes.
Revenues.
Low revenues. Low revenues.
Hey, Moody's rating.
Distress.
So we've been downgraded
Knocking
by
at
the
our door.
Moody's. Okay. Our exchange, our forex market.
Dropping and thinning like all of us.
The stock market.
People are fleeing. Fleeing.
Our stock market.
Yes.
Okay. Bonds and bills.
Too high risk.
In summary.
Disaster.
Summarize the red
Disaster
flags.
is here. It is here. It is
Here
not
now
coming.
or
It
here
is
coming
here.
by
It is
next-
here. It is actually here. We are just refusing to accept.
Okay.
But it is here.
Have we ever been at this kind of place?
Never in the history of Kenya. And I think that
Not even in the 90s.
No.
No.
Never.
When we had an issue, we had to bring in a dream team to show up our economy. We had to do all these things. We have never been here.
Now, the good thing at that time
Yeah.
is that when a dream team came, there was one main donor that you could put under Paris Club. the bilateral donors. And you put them together, agree certain things in a room, and within a few days, you had an agreement. Now, there's also another misconception that somehow or another, when Kibaki took the government, we were in such a bad state and he revived it, and this can be the case today. Let me
Disabusers
of that notion.
Yes.
Mwai Kibaki did not inherit this amount of debt. Because of Paris Club and because of the restrictions on borrowings, because of the multi-party era and the lack of it and dictatorship under Moi, he did not have a loan, huge loans to hand over to Mwai Kibaki.
Because nobody would give him the loans.
Yes. So Kibaki inherited a negative 1 GDP. First in our history. That is the notch of Moi's regime. It's the first time we've ever
GDP
gone to
was
minus one.
My goodness.
It was -1. That is what he inherited. But he did not inherit
How much debt was there at that point?
Oh, very little. It was literally, it was peanuts. It was manageable, and the Paris Club, it was peanuts. Peanuts. So
Our revenues could pay.
Yes, our revenues could pay.
Essentially, the government under Moi, as we're saying, was actually paying its debts even then.
It had no choice. But it took us to -1.
The impact of it was...
That was the impact.
Yes, and
In other
no
words, it
development.
could not, yes,
We were raising all our revenues
just to pay
paying
that
debt.
debt.
But you know what is interesting? I was alive and kicking and well, and I could actually eat ugali at that particular point in time. And there was a lot of talk about the suffering. In all honesty, Jimmy, you were alive then. Did you feel this suffering?
Not like this.
Yes.
Not like this. Because city is cause of only one thing. You did not have the debt.
Yes. Because
That is the thing you must recognize. Is the big difference.
But I'm hearing a contradiction of sorts here, Jimmy. If our debt at that point was almost going shilling for shilling to debt, sounds like we're in the same kind of situation now.
No, let me
where
put
our revenue, whatever it is going almost shilling for shilling to debt.
Yes, but are we accumulating more debt today?
Yes.
Right. Were we accumulating more debt at the time?
No.
No. We had what is called relief. That is the difference. Now, I've also had the other notion, going back now, because now I think we need to start talking about solutions. I had the other notion that, in fact, I think it's the president who mentioned this over the weekend, that he is a good student of Mwai Kibaki. And Mwai Kibaki raised more taxes from 220 billion to 1 trillion by the time he exited. That is true. But Mwai Kibaki did not raise taxes by squeezing the existing taxpayers. What Mwai Kibaki did was bake a bigger cake. He removed what you call the barriers to development that had occurred under the Moi era. And when he did that, he brought more people into the tax bracket. I'll give you an example of media, because we're in a media room. At the time, you had only 2 TV stations. I think KTN was one. And VOK, KBC.
Yes.
I think you had 1 radio station.
When? In 2002?
Yes.
It was slightly more, but yeah.
Yes. So Mwai Kibaki comes and says, why is this thing restricted? Open as many radio stations as you want, as many TV stations as you want, as many vernacular stations as you want. Spread your reach. When you spread your reach, I, as assistee, know that I can talk to somebody in the village through a particular radio station. I advertise more, I get more sales. I contribute more to taxation. So he removed the barriers to development. He did not squeeze the existing taxpayer. All right? And he did that across the country. We saw the expansion of mobile phones that period. We saw M-Pesa during that period. He removed barriers to development across this nation. So we expanded from 220 to 1 trillion. What is being proposed now in the finance bill is to squeeze us who are currently contributing.
It's not
to the
opening up
exchequer.
more spaces.
No.
Where? Please, maybe I am not understanding something. Maybe you know more than I do. Where is he expanding?
It's creating more conducive business environment.
Where?
Which one?
Which one?
Which particular one? They usually refer
Opening social economic zones.
I
and
think the finance bill,
industrial parks.
I think the estimates on the finance bill is not on an expansion. At least not that we've seen tangibly. It's on the existing taxpayer. Now, this is where I want to bring in my IMF before we go to solutions. IMF has a very simple template when you come to this situation. They ask 3 things. Number 1, your debt, your tax to GDP. So this government has gone and said, oh, we are at a GDP of 4.8. In the next financial year, we are going to grow. We are doing very well. We are going to go to 6.1.
We'll hit 6.1.
We are doing so well. Okay? So they say, okay, if you're doing so well, please raise your tax to GDP ratio. In fact, what I've seen from the IMF is that we are at 17%. They want us to get to about 25%. And they want a period of when? According to 6.1.
Which we are the ones who went and told them.
Yes. Yes. Number 2, because we are saying we have no problems. Number 2, they say, stop supporting your shilling. I think you saw the president say the other day that he has bridged the gap between the black market rate of the shilling and the dollar to the central bank rate. What he was saying is that the government has been showing up the shilling.
Governments do that all the time.
Right, but IMF tells you, leave it alone.
Meaning, they're saying, leave it to the vagaries of the free market, essentially telling you, leave it in free fall.
Yeah.
Yes, which is informing, of course, now the increase of our debt. Okay. The third thing they tell you is they look at your local bonds and bills and they say, by the way, why are you being restrictive on your interest rates?
Open it up.
Open it up. We want to understand the free market position of Kenya. What exactly is the risk here? Okay? So if you saw the bonds and bills last week, right? They were oversubscribed for the first time.
Because
This year.
the interest,
They free fall. They accepted every bid. Okay? Now, those, as we had said earlier, are the red lights, red flags to disaster. Didn't we?
Yeah.
Shilling, tax, and bonds and bills, interest rate. Let me say this, Eric, that many times there's no joy without pain. You know, I was in Dubai before the crash during the time of the mortgage crisis. And the mood in Dubai at the time was that, oh, this mortgage crisis, no, it's not going to affect us.
It's an American thing.
It's an American thing. It's a European thing. It's not going to come to us. You know, in fact, here we have oil money in Abu Dhabi will be supported. I said, but this real estate here is founded on what? Foreign money and foreign buyers. And they all were saying, no, we will not fall, we will not fall. Let me tell you, 3 days after that, it crashed. And the queue at the airport of people fleeing was unbelievable.
People leaving Dubai.
Fleeing.
Why?
Because the real estate market just crashed.
the bubble burst.
The bubble burst. Now, these talks we're giving here are to really alert Kenyans that this thing does not come with too much fanfare. It comes all of a sudden. And you realize your life has changed.
But the warning signs are always there.
But the warning signs are always there. Ghana, the good president, even quoted Jeremiah 1:28 and said that no Ghanaian will lose anything. And this was, I think, the 4th of December. And in 22 days later, people had lost everything. The point I'm trying to make.
Beware of those who quote scripture.
Correct.
Prophets of doom.
This is coming. Okay, it is here with us. And maybe we should look at options that are on the table because this is a very serious crisis. The first option out of this, is, as I said, was the debt, odious debt. Because the biggest problem we have is paying this debt. Money, instead of going back to Wanjigi and Mora, is going to, let's say, 5,000 to 10,000 people out there. Right? Okay? Now, those in other terms will be called oligarchs out there. Now, CT, if you look at the debt in the financial year 2023-2024, what are the repayments at the bottom?
Public debt repayments at the bottom, that is the estimates for 2020, the year 2023-2024, 1.672 trillion.
An increase of how much from this year?
260 billion.
Yes.
There you go.
From 1.4 trillion this year
Yes.
to 1.672 trillion.
Yes. And just in case one is wondering, these are the National Treasury and Planning Statements, actual revenues and net exchequer issues as at the 20th of April 2023.
Okay, so now this is my question. The people who are giving you these numbers, they live in Kenya.
It's their job.
They're crunching the numbers. They're telling you exactly what's going on.
Yes.
Right? You don't have to really go far to find it because they're giving it to you.
Yes.
Right? It's there in the open.
Yes.
And it is a treacherous sea that we are trying to tread water in.
Yes.
And it seems to be all right. Like, it's okay.
Who is it
Just
all
give
right
you
for?
The numbers here, no problem.
Who is it
This
all
is what
right
I'm saying. It seems to be all right.
Yes.
That it doesn't seem to be raising the alarm in the manner in which it ought to be. And this is the thing, that how can you be hurtling towards this stone very fast? And,
But does it
we're
not,
told that everything is going to be
but does
okay.
it not bespeak of people who may know exactly what we are discussing here, but they have competing interests that do not make these matters a priority?
They know where this money has gone. They know the circumstances under which money which was supposed to have been borrowed to use for development projects was not.
They do.
They know who moved this money.
They do.
And their job is to crunch
They
the
even know
numbers.
whom we are paying.
And
Yes.
How can we sit pretty and just agree?
I think, dude, you've asked a very good question. Very good question. When this started, because I say the rain started beating us at the beginning of the last regime, the two anchors of central bank and treasury are still today the two anchors in central bank and treasury.
They've just changed places,
Just
really.
swap.
They just swapped places. So they know. They have knowledge of these facts. This is not a secret. What is difficult is the choices to be made. And really, there are three choices that I see. The last time I was here, I said taxes is one choice. And my belief, and I think there seems to be a growing consensus, is that we have reached our threshold of collection of taxes. You can't squeeze this cow anymore. There's no more milk. Okay? The other choice at the time I said was odious debt. We ring the bell on illegality and say we as Kenyans do not owe it, we never passed it. Look for the people who did that,
They should pay.
let them be held to account. The third, which I want to introduce today, because I saw this question raised, is debt default. The option of debt default. We look at it like it's such a bad thing.
It's a bad thing, Jim.
Yes, but it is many times. Look at many companies in America. It's like filing Chapter 11. Bankruptcy. And dealing with the consequences. And many times you find a lot of those companies recover. They recover. Because what you get is called breathing space. We need breathing space. Because I can assure you restructuring here is a near impossibility in the time span that we need. Because now it is not Paris Club, just bilaterals. It is a myriad of debt. You have the London sovereign with the bonds, Euro bonds, which are almost 900 billion, right? 2 billion, yes, about 300 billion to be paid in this coming financial year. You have the bilaterals that come under Paris Club, and then you've got Chinese debt. To put them all in a room to agree who is cutting off what and who you're saving from, I can tell you that's a very long discussion. So maybe, just maybe, we should not look at debt default as an entirely negative thing.
So you're saying it could be a viable option for the country?
Yes.
What would be the advantages of a debt default for Kenya?
We just talked about the debt this coming financial year of 1.6, almost 1.7 trillion shillings to be paid. If you look at the interest element of that, I think you can see the interest element on bonds, on Kenya shillings, on debt interest, bills, bonds, and others, is what?
For this particular one, it's around 572 billion.
No, at the top here. If you see 2023, 2024, I think top column, you can see interest. Yes, but they're both interest. So cumulatively, it's what? Because you have 572 and 146.
Cumulative is 719 billion.
719 billion.
That is an immediate amount of money that you save.
If you do.
That's on interest.
Yes.
If you say we are in default.
It ceases.
If we say
we are in default.
We are in default.
Yes.
And agree to that.
Yes. We say here, and look at Ghana's situation. What Ghana said is that we're now switching your debts. Yeah, you give me your bonds and bills, right? Which was all this, including interest, and we issue with new ones. So they issued them with new ones, and it said this: we are not paying you your interest rate. Yes,
suspending it.
We're not paying you. We're issuing you with a new bond of this. We are suspending interest rate payments for the next 3 years.
Suspending.
No, hold on, City. We are suspending forward interest rates, not backward, for the next 3 years. And 3 years' time, we're going to give you a 3%. Not 15, 16%, which was the market at the time in Ghana.
We've renegotiated this thing completely.
Yes, we forcibly renegotiated.
We've forcibly taken away 12%.
Yeah.
Yes.
By virtue of the fact that you're owning up to, look, I can't pay.
I can't pay.
And extended the tenure.
And we are saying, take it or leave it. Okay? But what immediately happens is that you then have a bank crisis.
Yes.
And you have to deal with the bank crisis. And that's where now you come to the sovereign. So we have to take a hit, but we are taking a hit anyway.
It's not one hit. We're taking very many.
We're taking too many hits.
Yes.
So this may actually be, I saw the president say we are not going to default like it's a very bad thing. It is, yes, but it may be the only option. And maybe the sooner we do it, because all we are doing here is digging a hole.
Can I ask this question, Jimmy? From an international perspective, when you default, internationally, are they auctioneers?
I come and take.
The first thing I'm saying is that are they auctioneers? Yes, that's why you now negotiate new terms under that default. All right? With those same auctioneers. And the biggest auctioneer, the person who brings the auctioneers to the table is the same IMF. Brings them all to the table. Right? And you now show them a new plan.
I mean, you're willing to pay.
We're willing to pay. But, we need breathing space.
This is what we can afford.
Yes. Right? And give us time with various ways we'll grow this economy, we'll cover this debt. But for now, we need relief. Our people are squeezed to the limit. And we are prepared to squeeze them just a bit more, but we need this relief.
If we were to default, let's say we defaulted in the next financial year, we are expected to be paying 1.67 trillion shillings. Do we pay a shilling of it, or do we pay zero?
I'm saying the kind of negotiations we should have, because these are
What would
all,
default
they're
be?
all individualistic.
What do we
in
say?
Ghana,
We are defaulting on our domestic debt, or we are defaulting on our external debt, or defaulting on all debt?
That's a good question. Let me take the example of Ghana, because that's the most recent, right? And it's a good, because our economies were at similar stages. So Ghana said we are defaulting on domestic,
Okay.
right? And rescheduling foreign debt. So two different discussions.
Conversations.
And they removed all interest and literally said, in 3 years' time, come back with your new bond I've issued you at a 30% discount. Take note. So if you had a 1 million shilling bond or 10,000 shilling bond, they said, now this is your new one of 7,000. This is your new one of 700,000. If it was 1 million. 30% discount. And you come back in 3 years, I'll give you this particular interest rate per year. That's what happened.
Okay.
So you had relief.
For 3 years.
You have now, they've negotiated relief, but it comes with a cost. Right? Currency drops. Inflation increases. They have an inflation rate now
Seriously.
between 45, almost 50%.
Seriously.
In just a few months. All right? But it is called a bitter pain before relief, because it's coming. Now, which goes to your secondary question, which I think we should really articulate. If we do get this saving of, let us say, 1.7 trillion, are we going to make sure that this 1.7 goes to Mwananchi? That is where CT was asking a lot of questions of management. Are we going to make sure this 1.7 comes back to Wanjigi and Mora?
How will it?
Right.
How would it?
Right. That is where we must be very vigilant. Because I can assure you, if we do, this will change our economy in 3 years' time.
But there's several
This
things
saving out of debt default
Yeah.
will save our economy in 3 years' time. We don't need much here. Kenyans work very hard.
But
It means-
there's something else that's happening as we default. Like you said, inflation shoots over the moon. Everything else is affected. It also means that it's affecting our capacity to raise revenue.
You see,
So our target, let's even go with our 1.8 trillion that we are raising this year. We are then unlikely to be able to raise 1.8 trillion shillings in that next financial year.
but you have relief on debt.
So we have relief on debt.
So you can give
say
further
we
relief.
raise
So you can
1.5
give
trillion.
You can give further reliefs, right, to the same producer, because you now have relief on debt. You don't have to maintain such high taxation,
Okay.
right? You can't go hand in hand, and I think that's what we are faced with right now. You have a government that has removed subsidies, and if you look at those subsidies, they've been targeted at 3 main items. One is fuel.
Yeah.
One is electricity, and the next is food. Those are the 3 main items, maize meal. All right? The government removed subsidies on that. And out of it, they told us that they are making a saving of 200 billion shillings. All right? And then they've come back to increase our taxes. If they made a saving, why are they increasing their taxes? So we get double hits. In double hits, we cannot make ends meet. It's impossible. All right? So in this case, if there is a relief on debt, and that is removed from the debt of the government as an expenditure, then we must get some
Relief.
We must get some relief
Sure.
that counters a balance on the loss of exchange, on the increase in the inflation rate, and so on and so forth. That is a better relief than what we are currently going through. Because here, we are hit twice. The carpet removed below us, with subsidies being taken away, and then you come and load us with more taxation.
What I'd like to understand, Jimmy, is that if we were to follow this particular suggestion that you're making, we know that our banks keep making horrendous profits as a result of this business they do with the government. It means those profits will go down. Now, will we then see a situation similar to the one we saw in the Kibaki era, where because now, if the government does what you propose, I think you're smiling, it means then that the government will no longer be borrowing in the way that they borrowed. So perhaps the banks will then turn to the individuals and the businesses, put it this way, to their traditional business.
You hit the nail on the head. It means eventually interest rates will
Come down.
Yes.
and they'll look for you and I
Yes.
to spur our businesses. But we take a hit. It may last a few months, may last a year. But that decision will eventually lead us to prosperity if this is managed well.
You're saying this would be a faster route to getting out of our quagmire.
Not only faster.
Less painful.
I'm saying it is probably the only way.
It's the only way. From what you're saying, it seems to be the only way to
all
go.
these other ways. This thing of raising taxes is there's no game here. There's literally no game here.
So raising taxes is not viable. Not even sustainable. It's not even viable.
It's not viable. They're just trying to kick the can down the road. But I can assure you, there's no way you're going to raise this money. Raise 2.8 this financial year. You're not going to do it. You're not even going to raise 2. So really, I mean, we're just continuing and prolonging the suffering of Kenyans without a proper decision. And it gets harder the more you postpone.
The closer you get to the next election.
No. Honestly,
this
Eric,
discussion relates
it's
to this
now.
year.
This year. We're not even in 2027.
That's what I'm saying. The more you kick the can down the road, the more difficult the decision for you to make, because you're getting closer to an election and accountability.
Yes, but you have mayhem.
Total.
You have mayhem. Now, this decision has huge political ramifications. Huge. And this is why you see the procrastination.
Which is worse, to have the eventuality which must come suddenly land on us and you have no control, as opposed to this one where you actually have a say as to what happens on a day-to-day basis.
This is better.
Yes.
But it has huge political ramifications. As I said, you've got players who have been there.
Yeah.
Would you trust the same players?
But
Wananchi will become, and those same players now will be saying, no, what Jimi is proposing is madness.
But Jimmy, there is no escaping the political ramifications. There is no escaping.
Yes.
You procrastinate, the ramifications will be there. And the only problem is, it'll be out of your control.
Yes.
Completely.
Yes.
This one, you have a say. And even as you negotiate with our lenders, you can negotiate with the citizens.
Correct. You've taken control.
Yes.
All right?
Yeah.
Now, it's a question of whether the citizens will believe you, trust you.
Right.
And now we get into very serious politics.
Yeah.
But I can assure you here, and Kenyans at large, this decision is coming one way or the another.
We have to face this thing head on.
We have to bite the bullet.
Okay. It will come.
Yes.
Jimmy says we are here. We are at that point. We have got to cross to the other side. We
Yes.
can't turn back.
Now, at that point, we start talking about what are these bright lights that can spur this economy? What is our production basket? Where are we going to make this difference from? Where are we going to change our lives? And we focus on production. I want to give just one quick example. One quick one. Because I'm a coffee drinker, and I told you I'm a coffee grower. Coffee in this country today is only 35,000 tons worth of production. It used to be 140,000 tons worth of production. And coffee, if you look at the amount of money, revenue that it did foreign exchange last year, was only 20 billion. Now, a coffee farmer today, and I've seen them crying, are getting between 109 shillings per kilo to 70 shillings per kilo. That same coffee, I don't know how much time we have, but
2 minutes.
2 minutes.
We're already into
quickly,
the news.
quickly with your pen. Quickly. No, do is better with man.
With a calculator.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Now, 1 kilo is selling at 100 shillings, let's say, right? And a tree normally gets about 3 kilos, right? That's how much per tree?
300.
300,
Yeah.
right? So you look at an acre, it has 500 trees. So times 500.
300 times 500.
150,000.
150,000. That's what a farmer gets per year. And you look at that and you say half of that is cost,
75,000.
right? So he's living on that per year. It's nothing
75,000.
for that farmer.
Yes.
Okay? He can't make ends meet for his life and his family.
It's about 6,250.
Now, the same coffee, especially now with the new legislature that is there, right? The same coffee is sold in the international market at 11 euro. 11 euro is about 1,700 shillings. 1,700 shillings.
Yeah.
So take 1,700 per kilo times 3 times
5,100.
times 500. How much do you get?
2.5 million.
Right. So the farmer goes 1 acre from 170 to 2.5, just getting direct to the market on green leaf. I'm talking about green bean, sorry. Not even the finished product. All right? But why doesn't he do that? Because in between,
There are these mongrels.
there are these mongrels, and there are only 3 of them, right? Right? There are only 3 that have been milling, marketing, and buying, right? For the last 40 to 50 years, right?
Yep.
Now, you imagine if that product was taken from 35,000 tons, right, to 75,000 tons at those values. You immediately are talking about a very different situation
Indeed.
in terms of foreign exchange, which means that there'll be greater demand for the shilling because you must create demand for the shilling so that it stops falling. I'm giving you one example. You can go on, and I have a list. You can go on and on and on and literally change with what we have today in this country. Everybody's life. Production, production, production. That's where our eyes should be.
That should be our focus.
Yes.
Thank you, Jimmy.